Hi everyone, welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and this is your opposition preview for Everton's game against Crystal Palace on Saturday. I'm joined again by D from Back of the Nest, back on the channel. Last spoke to you in January for the FA Cup game, mate. How have you been doing?
Yeah, better. I'll tell you that. Since we last spoke, last time we spoke was under Roy Hodgson. It was just toxic. There were banners at games, and it was a mess. It was a mess, but things are looking much more better and on the up. Even though we haven't won a game so far this season, but in general at Palace, then it was back then, anyways, when we spoke.
Good to hear. Good to hear they do well. Of course, like you said there, no wins yet, but you have been playing quite well. You picked up some wins in the Carabao, picked up 3 draws as well, you said. What have you made of it so far? Because obviously Oliver Glasner's come in at the end of last season. You happy so far with how your season's going?
I wouldn't say I'm happy because I expected more points in certain games, especially against Leicester. But I'm also realistic. I understand the reason for our slow start. I mean, the pros of having so many players join up for England is that you get to see some of your teams players play in massive competition, especially in final with Gahey. The cons are, which not just with England, with Copa America as well, is that these players join back so late into pre-season. Gahey, Eze, Walton, Henderson, part of the England group, came Gay and Eze came a week before, I believe, and Walton and Henderson 2 weeks before the season started. Mateta came back to Palace 3 days before the season started because of the Olympics. And we also lost Munoz and Lerma due to Copa America final with Colombia, and they came about a week before the season started as well, on top of Chris Richards as well. He was representing US men's national team. So we've had barely any we've had pre-season, but we haven't had the full squad pre-season, so we're basically playing catch-up game, believe it or not. But Gahey, Glasner said as well, has trained more with England than he has with Glasner at Palace. The first game he started in the back three at Palace under Glasner, competitive game, was only this season. We had a great run towards the end of last season, but he was out injured. We also sold a few players, Anderson and Ayew, but we also strengthened in different areas. Of course, Elisa was a massive miss for us, which you cannot replace. But yeah, I feel like we're now 5 games unbeaten, if you include the cup as well. We've got draws there against Chelsea and United. Chelsea away from home and United most recently at home. And for me, I don't think we've been great, but we haven't also been terrible. We just have to now find the tipping point to turn those draws in the league into wins, which, I mean, we've got 3 draws. So yeah, that's pretty much been the only disappointment, not picking up a win yet so far this season.
I'd certainly swap are terrible for your not being great, because we have been absolutely poor this season. The 0-0 draw with Manchester United, I spoke about it a little bit on your channel, but a good point, would you say? United, again, we mentioned you don't quite know what you're going to get with them, whether they're going to fall apart, whether they're going to absolutely trash it, whoever they are playing. They're an unpredictable team, so a 0-0 draw at home, are you happy with that?
Yes, especially after the first half where we got absolutely ruined. I'll be honest. The first half was a terrible half of football, which Glasner did say post-game, and he said that it was nothing to do with tactics or the defence. It was just basically the goalkeeper, Dean Henderson, saving us, and that was the case. The first half was terrible, but in the second half, we created better opportunities than Manchester United. In fact, we could have won the game. And I get the narrative about United, because they have been hit and miss under Ten Hag. But so far this season, they are a side that have conceded less shots than they have previously in previous seasons. So I think there have been defensive improvements. But despite that, and I saw it first time against Palace, by the way. I mean, United, you still want to face them. They're not the old man United. But in the second half, we did create opportunities with Eze, which he should have took. It was unfortunate, but if he took that chance, we should be rightly coming with 3 points. But I think a draw was a fair result. And interestingly, in that game, Walton and Mateta got subbed off at half time. And despite that, we still improved in the second half, which kind of shows that Palace have improved their squad And this is our strongest squad, not starting 11 because we lost Elise and you cannot replace him. Strongest squad since we got promoted to the Premier League back in 2013. And we've invested that money into bringing in the likes of Sarr, Kamada, Chad Riyad, who's out injured, also Lacroix in defense, Trevor Chalobah, who's come on loan as well, and Ketia. So we've signed quite a few players, and we've got more players that we can rely on off the bench. But yeah, that United game, the bench actually made a difference, to be fair, with Sarr coming on the pitch.
Yeah, I just hope you're not resting Mateta for Saturday, because I think, to be honest, he's a fantastic player. When you watch him for Palace, he's the real, he's the big man. He's the one that you fear, the one that nobody wants to play against. You know, even when he's not scoring goals, he can do a lot of other things. He can link up play. He can hold the ball up. So yeah, he's one of those players that really, and I get the impression that he does love playing for Palace as well, which is nice to see in this day and age.
Yeah. He does, but he hasn't signed a new contract. And he's also, since joining Palace, he's kind of mentioned us as like a stepping stone club, which I understand, but the player to join a club and mention that it was a bit weird. So there is some questions about his future at Palace. And in fact, some questions about whether he will start in this game. He scored 4 goals so far this season in all competitions, but he did get subbed off at half time, and Sarr did come on, and Sarr had more of an impact than he did in the first half. So there are questions over whether Mateta should start, whether it should be Ismail Sarr as well. But yeah, he is a player which can energize the whole fans. He looks like he gets the fans involved in a game. It's just there were question marks over his future this summer, with him apparently wanting to join Villa, which didn't happen. And he said it as well. Look, it didn't happen. I'm fine with staying at Palace, but it's still a bit weird because you know that he's doing well for Palace, but you know that he also wants to leave quite openly. So that makes me a bit conflicted as a Palace fan in terms of, you know, well, this player, all right, it's great right now, but look, in all honesty, with Mateta, the thing that I found that a few Palace fans find a bit cheeky was the fact that, you know, he started scoring goals last season and he had a good season. But we had him at the club for now 3 seasons, and there were times where he couldn't jump for the ball. That was the discussion. And now, you know, he's had a good few months and he wants out of Palace straight away. It just felt a bit, you know, like, come on, like, we've been patient with you for so long. Why are you so, like, persistent now? But it is what it is. I mean, we're still behind him. It's just that there is that feeling of, you know, he doesn't want to be here in the long term. So it's like, do we, you know, give opportunities to other players like Sarr, who is actually performed well coming off the bench. He was a difference maker. He was a difference maker with his pace in the second half against Man United, and creating opportunities for Eze, which we haven't seen really ever since Michael Olise has left. It's been Eze trying to do it himself, but they had a nice bit of connection there.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate that as well, because obviously that's where we have the opposition previews. If I have a view looking from the outside, you can tell me what it's, you know, what it's like as a Palace fan, because we've been in that situation before. Romelu Lukaku one sticks out to me. Every time he went on an international break, he seemed to feel like he'd already left the club. So it can be tough, and then that's one of the problems with being, you know, a team in the Premier League that sort of, you know, playing around mid-table towards the bottom half. A lot of the time when players start scoring, they don't want to stay with you. And I think that says a lot about football nowadays and just how it sort of works. But you mentioned Oliver Glasner there, and on your channel, you said that he's the best manager you've had since coming back up in 2013. What obviously brilliant end to last season. You're doing great, playing some really good stuff. How has that sort of changed? Because obviously a bit of a slow start this season. You mentioned as well the sort of, you know, you're losing a lot of players due to the, you know, World Cups and stuff like that. Is that the only reason that you think that really there's been a bit of a slow start and you haven't been picking up too many wins early on?
And also replacing players as well. We lost Anderson and Jordan Ayew, but we basically have had this settled squad only in the Leicester game about 2 games ago now, because we signed majority of the players on deadline day. I mean, we did sign Kamada, which is his player, who has been playing in midfield. Well, not every single game he played. He started in midfield against United, and he's not a midfielder because he cannot defend. He's more of a number 10. But yeah, we haven't really been able to settle down with this new Palace squad. Losing Elise is massive, and losing Anderson, which I thought was good bit of business because of his age and the contract length that he wanted, which is 5 years. We don't really do that for players, that will be over the age of 30 to have more than a year's contract, because we've done that in the past and it destroyed us having an aging squad. So, I think we've done the right business. We ended the window in a good way, but the problem is we've only ended it on deadline day with majority of those players coming in then. So we haven't really had much time to settle in. But of course, you look at the manager, you look at the way he sets up the team. You can ask questions of whether we should be playing a back three in every single game. Some games it might be better to play a back four. But then again, even against United, good managers can be able to change it up. And we have seen that a few times this season where he's gone to a back four during the game and he has changed it up rather than sticking with the usual approach and just waiting until the 75th minute to make a sub. He made a sub, which we haven't seen before, 2 subs in the 45th minute, which, shows that he's willing to do that. And that's what makes a manager good, just being able to react to the situation quickly rather than waiting for the sake of waiting and hoping for something to happen when it won't happen. So yeah, I've total faith in Glasner for now, anyways. I do think he's the right man to lead us forward.
Yeah, I mean, you actually asked me on our channel about Sean Dyche and what's my opinion on him, and I think what you've said there is exact opposite of him. He's very reactive rather than proactive. So what do you think of Sean Dyche? Because a lot of Evertonians are beginning to lose their patience with him.
I think Dyche has a limit. He does have a limit in terms of what he can achieve. And when we've been in the Premier League for so long, we've had managers like Sean Dyche as well, where you just know, all right, cool, he's going to come in, he's great at the start, but then you really know in the back of your head that there's a limit to what he can do with this squad because of the type of manager he is. Saying that, look, at Burnley, funny enough, he got them promoted and made them play European football and also got relegated as well. So he has worked well with limited resources. So I think it made sense for Everton to keep Dyche going into the season due to the fact that he is a manager that could do well with not having that much at his disposal. Maybe better than other managers. However, when you're looking at the long-term future, I just don't think Dyche is going to be the right man for Everton to lead you forward, especially where you want to head towards. But for now, I mean, with the issues off the pitch, I guess Dyche is a manager where you can have and you can say, you know what, we know what to expect from him. It might not be great, but the fact is, you've had games so far this season where you're so close to winning. Maybe you can look at the manager and say that's the reason why you dropped some points. But he can still put you in those positions. It's not good enough, but it's not absolutely terrible where you're getting pumped 4-0 week in, week out. There's also that if you improve your defense and maybe if you make some of the right tactical decisions, especially his game management, you can convert some of those defeats into draws and wins, and you can start looking up rather than down. So yeah, I think there's fine margins with Dyche, but in the short term anyways, let's see with your new ownership group. It probably, for now, it makes sense to keep him, but that's very on a thin line, especially with how you started the season. I understand that because I think he's reaching his expiry date. Basically.
I can't see him being here past his contract, which expires this season. Of course, the bad times off the pitch hopefully will now end with the Friedkin group buying Everton. John Textor was one. Of course, we were going to address it. One that was heavily rumoured to be taken over at Everton. Spoke very openly about it as well. Obviously, has his shares in Crystal Palace. So. What's your opinion on that? Because it's a bit of an awkward situation for him, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he's wanted out for a while, so we've known that. I didn't personally like his comments publicly about while still owning Palace, talking about Everton. He is hilarious now looking at it, but I think he was sold a dream because he mentioned dates, etc., and we have to get a deal done by now, but I guess because he owns a Premier League football club, I don't think that's legally binding. And he ended up sending a few players from Lyon, which is his other club, to Everton. And now I don't think he'll be taking over Everton. So So yeah, with John Textor, he's got the right ideas. For me, it's always been a question of does he have the money to back it up? He's very ambitious. He does. I mean, for Palace fans, we know that he's going to eventually move on because he wants to be very hands-on approach, which Steve Parish is not letting go. He owns less shares than John Textor, considerably less shares than John Textor, but he still has more of a say than John Textor because of his golden shares. So yeah, I mean, Textor's not happy with that, so he's always wanted out, and he thought Everton was a good opportunity. But for him, you know, I think he will be leaving Palace. It's just a matter of when. So yeah, I guess time will tell. But yeah, I mean, a lot of Palace fans were not happy about his comments made publicly whilst owning Palace as well.
Yeah, and you know, maybe when he leaves and you get your new owner, we can meet in the Champions League final one day. But let's talk lineups. Yeah, we're not quite there yet. Let's talk lineups. Obviously, for Palace now, players are starting to maybe get back to full match fitness after that tough summer that you had with the Olympics, the Copa America, and the Euros. Talk a bit about some danger men. Obviously, Palace have got a lot of them. I mentioned Dwight McNeil on your channel for us, but who do you think is pick a danger man for both Palace and Everton that are the players to watch in this game for the neutrals?
I think for Everton, McNeil has been recently, anyways, I've noticed like he's taking the games on and he's getting a bit more of a responsibility. And we've seen this under Sean Dyche at Burnley as well. So it's not like he's never done this in the Premier League. I think that's a player that I'm looking at in the attack, saying, you know, he can cause us some problems because defensively, I know we kept the clean sheet against United, but so far this season, there's been uncharacteristic defending from certain people like Gahey, for example, which improved, as I said, against United. So there are still a bit of question marks, especially over the first half. What can we do defensively? So I'm looking at him to see if we can stop him. And then from Palace's perspective, I'm looking at Eze, I'm looking at Wharton, those two players. Eze is coming very close to scoring a goal. It's just a matter of like when now. He needs to take one of these chances. He's getting opportunities. He needs to take it. And Wharton in midfield, if he's fit, which he hasn't been fit, and that is why he got subbed off. If he's 100% fit, he's excellent on the ball. But you can tell there's been an issue with his groin that's been annoying him since the start of the season, and he hasn't been able to have that proper rest and heal the problem. So we'll see how fit he is. But I think both of Eze and Wharton on their day can be a massive threat.
Now, cast your mind back to the 16th of April 2014, the last time Crystal Palace won at Goodison, I think. The 11 that played in that match, if you can cast your mind back, it was a very good time for Evertonians. For Palace, it was a bit of a funny time as well. Obviously, coming straight back into the you came up into the Premier League. You had that famous game against Liverpool, which we always thank the Palace fans for. But how many of those players can you name? Because I've got the list in front of me, and I'll be impressed if you can name the whole team.
That's 10 years ago. Who was playing in that period? We've had so many games at Goodison Park. Fraser Campbell, Balassi was Fraser Campbell, Balassi there, both of them.
There was maybe on the bench for Fraser Campbell.
Fraser,
no, there was who? Sorry,
Fraser Campbell.
No, there was no Fraser Campbell in the squad that day.
Balassi.
Yeah, Balassi, funny enough, in this photo has got his Everton shirt on.
Oh, is it?
Even though he's on the Palace lineup, yeah.
So we got Balassi, Delaney.
Yeah.
Damien Delaney.
Damien Delaney.
Speroni playing that game. Speroni.
Who? Speroni did, yeah. Obviously, a bit of a legend, isn't he, for Palace?
Yeah. Joel
Ward did play, yeah, at right back.
Did Mariappa play?
Mariappa, yeah, did play, yeah. Came off in the 68th minute.
He came off in 68th minute. So we got Balassi, Cameron Jerome, eventually.
Jerome, I think Jerome did start. He came off in the 76th minute, yeah.
Okay, Cameron Jerome, Balassi.
Really sort of famous Palace player as well that you're missing in midfield, yeah.
Oh, Mile Jedinak.
Yeah, Mile Jedinak, and then someone else next to him as well.
My mind's gone blank right now. Millet was starting in midfield. Kabay wasn't there. He came
Kabay
later.
wasn't there, no.
Yeah, he came later. In that game, I can't. My mind's gone blank. Against Everton, who
There's a goal scorer as well. Who? Sorry,
goal scorer as well.
There's a goal scorer as well for Palace that you're yet to have mentioned.
Goal scorer. Zaha was Wilf there? Nah.
No.
He wasn't there. He came a bit later, I think.
He would have been at Man United this season.
He was that?
He would have been at Man United this season, Zaha. It was just 1 year at Manchester United under
Yes. He is quite a while ago. The fact that Zaha was still at Man United whilst talking about this, that's how long ago we beat you lot. And now the guy is like in his 30s. So
famous. Well, I wouldn't say famous, but played an established Palace centre back.
Hold up, Scott Dan.
Yeah, Scott Dan got the goal for Palace.
He scored a goal, because
and Cameron Jerome got one of the others.
So, and Mariappa, so I got a defence. It's just the midfield that I've gone blank, and also the right. Did Tommins play in this game?
Tommins was on the bench.
He was on the bench.
Yeah, the two that you're missing. Well, there's three that you're missing. Punchin did, yeah. He scored the other goal in the 3-2 win.
Yeah.
Up front, quite a famous, not famous. I mean, famous
Murray?
for maybe the wrong reasons.
Glenn Murray wasn't there then.
No.
He wasn't there.
Famous for the wrong reasons, really, up front. Played for another Premier League team as well.
Famous for the wrong reasons up front. Ben Teke wasn't there then.
No.
That was too early for Ben Teke. For the wrong reasons. Dwight Gale? No.
Dwight Gale was on the bench.
He was on the bench. Famous for the wrong reasons.
Well, he was sort of regarded as a bit of a... Yeah.
Shamak, see, that's funny because Shamak's actually not a bad player. He's actually not a bad player for us at that time, but yeah.
Maybe Arsenal was just a bit too high for him, but
yeah.
Let us know how you got on in the comment section down below. D, thank you so much for coming on again, mate. We'll hopefully see you again later on in the season.
All right, then. Thanks for having me on. I love that quiz, by the way.
We'll keep them doing. If you like them, make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the Toffee Blues, and I'll see you in the next one.